I've spent the last 25 years cleaning out the messiest houses in America. And there's a lot of stuff in people's houses, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of emotions attached to that stuff. And what we found is, specifically in senior living, believe it or not, the stuff is what's held a lot of people back from moving and making that move. And so you could, on the sales side, you could have an incredible funnel, you could have all this technology, but if grandma hadn't gone through her pictures, or she doesn't know what to do with her living room or dining room, you don't get that resident.
Yeah.
And so as I got more mature I've been working in the senior living industry for about 10 years now, we started looking for partners. And when we met Live Now, it was immediately the right partner for us. I mean, they're dealing directly with the communities, helping the communities with all types of services. I'll let them tell you what they do. But we found our need, what we do to help families. They were already talking to the residents and the communities about that. And so for us, it was a natural partnership to work.
Welcome to The Move-In, a senior living marketing podcast from Unlock Health, a full-service marketing partner for the aging services industry. Join us for candid conversations exploring the latest marketing strategies with the senior living community leaders and innovative solution partners who are moving our industry forward. Together, we'll build a community to build better communities. Moving to a senior living community is a major life event filled with excitement and trepidation. Today, I explore the emotional connections and practical considerations in helping seniors transition to their next chapter with Maureen Longoria, Lisa Burns, and Matt Paxton. Maureen and Lisa are the co-founders of Now Relocation, a company that's dedicated in guiding older adults through their senior living journey. And Matt Paxton is the founder of Clutter Cleaner and a veteran of the hit TV show Hoarders. He also shares his unique perspective on the role of downsizing and decluttering in this process. These three share their insights on making this transition as smooth and as comfortable as possible for residents and their families. In this conversation, we discussed the significant emotional attachments seniors have with their possessions and the difficulty they face in letting go of these items during the downsizing process. We also discussed the need to provide a more comprehensive and compassionate support system for seniors and their families during this transition to senior living and how important collaboration is between service providers. And also how senior living communities can better support potential residents who are hesitant about downsizing. With that said, let's jump into the conversation with Maureen, Lisa, and Matt. All right, we're back on the move in senior living. This is going to be a fun conversation as when we think about that process of seniors looking to take that next step in that journey. It's amazing the services that are provided now. I feel like we've come a long way in providing a loving support and guidance, so people know, hey, it's going to be okay, because it's a very a lot of emotional connections that are tied to this next step. So if you don't mind, we got Maureen, Lisa, and Matt all here with us today. If you don't mind, just introduce yourself. I'll start with Maureen and then Lisa with Live Now, and then we'll go into Matt.
Thanks, Larry. Maureen Longoria, co-founder of Now Relocation.
Nice. Lisa, please.
And Lisa Burns, co-founder of Now Relocation.
Great. Now, tell us a little bit about Now Relocation.
Now Relocation is a relocation management company dedicated to helping older adults transition into senior living communities.
Awesome.
Make a later life transition.
Yeah. It's and you got someone who is, you can say famous, was sitting on the couch with us, Matt Paxton. Matt, please tell us, what you're doing here with us today at Smash and the connection that, you have with Maureen and Lisa.
Yeah. So my name is Matt Paxton. I'm founder of Clutter Cleaner. It's an estate clean out and downsizing company. But most people know me from that TV show Hoarders. I was the host of that show for 15 years. And I've spent the last 25 years cleaning out the messiest houses in America. And there's a lot of stuff in people's houses, and there's a lot of emotions attached to that stuff. And what we found is, specifically in senior living, believe it or not, the stuff is what's held a lot of people back from moving and making that move. And so you could, on the sales side, you could have an incredible funnel, you could have all this technology, but if grandma hadn't gone through her pictures, or she doesn't know what to do with her living room or dining room, you don't get that resident.
Yeah.
And so as I got more mature I've been working in the senior living industry for about 10 years now, we started looking for partners. And when we met Live Now, it was immediately the right partner for us. I mean, they're dealing directly with the communities, helping the communities with all types of services. I'll let them tell you what they do. But we found our need, what we do to help families. They were already talking to the residents and the communities about that. And so for us, it was a natural partnership to work with Live Now.
I feel like in
Mm.
this space, everybody has a story of how they got here. And so, like, I'd love to hear Lisa and Maureen first. Like, yeah, how did you find your way to Live Now, to start this, organization? Because I'm sure there was some emotional connections as, you look to found this company.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, we came out of corporate relocation.
Okay.
Maureen and I, and actually our entire team, have over 25 years of experience managing moves around the world for employees, right? So we know that's a complicated move. It always is, whether you're moving down the street or around the world.
Yeah.
But, personally too, I've lost parents, grandparents, people that I had to support and help through this process.
Sure.
And it's interesting to me because I was in corporate relocation, but it wasn't until I got into the senior space that I started to really see the need. It's so much more emotional. There's so much more involved. It's not just get from point A to point B. It's making that final move.
Yeah.
And so I saw it with my family and I saw it firsthand. And now we get to bring experience and knowledge to passion and really help those that deserve a high level first class move to the community.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that. And so is your story similar?
Yeah,
Maureen?
exactly. When Lisa and I stepped foot into the senior living space, we recognized that there was a massive void for these families to provide them with one point of contact that would be accountable for making sure that transition went smoothly.
Yeah.
They would give them names of movers, senior move managers, and then the family would be accountable for having to chase them down, get estimates.
More stress.
Totally. And they
Yeah.
didn't know, like, okay, I've got an estimate. Is this fair? How do I know if this mover is licensed? Are they insured? They didn't know any of this, but it was on them to do it. And so we just basically took our corporate relocation model and brought it to this space because nobody deserves a smoother transition than this population,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. And like you both have said, there's so many emotions tied to this move. It's not like,
Right.
moving is hard enough as it is.
Right.
If I move my family next week, that's a struggle,
Mhm.
much less you start pulling in the emotions and everything that goes into having that house and that control, that connection you have in that control. So thank y'all for for everything you do with
Oh,
Live Now.
absolutely. Yeah, this move is very unique. A corporate relocation, they'll come to your house, they'll pack up even your garbage can with the garbage in it and move it to point B, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, it's unique in that almost everybody has to downsize. And so that downsizing means they have to give away things that are memories are attached to, right? That's one of the things that makes it so unique. And then the other part of it is certainly the age of the person that's moving. They're not physically capable of going into the attic and getting into the basement and cleaning out these things. It's too much for them. And then the third aspect of it is it's usually an uber local move,
Yeah.
which is unusual too. Usually it's, if you're moving for a job, you're moving across state or whatever. So those are the three components that make this a very unique move.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Matt, how did you we know you from Hoarders. How did
Yeah.
you find your way to that point of
Yeah,
being
you
on
don't do it by
Hoarders?
succeeding at everything. When I was 24, my dad, my stepdad, and both my grandfathers passed away. And I had to clean out all the
Oh my
houses. Yeah.
So they all passed away the same
It was a
ye
bad bar fight, No, it wasn't.
I
It
didn't
was
know
just
if to
bad.
laugh
Yeah.
or you're like, "No, seriously."
No, it'd be great if it was. It was just bad luck,
Yeah.
bad time, and everyone
Sure.
dies. And it just happened to us. It was waves. Waves kept coming in. Every 6 months, someone passed away.
Yeah.
And I was lost and grieving, and the women in my family were too. And so I kind of just jumped into that role and started cleaning the houses. And by like the second house, my grandfather always told me if something sucks, do it as a job because people
Hmm.
pay you to do it.
Yeah.
And by the second house, I was like, this is what he's talking about. This really sucks. I'm lost. There's no book on how to do this. I don't know what to do. I don't know if this stuff's valuable. I don't know anything. And so I just started cleaning out those houses and I fell in love with it because I got all these incredible stories. The emotions are important, but I
Yes.
got the cool stories behind it. So I found out very early in life, I love those stories. And then I think the hoarding side of it was the work nobody would do. It was even grosser and even heavier. And so I found that those were people that really needed help. And I fell in love with it. I mean, everyone in this conference is here. We're all servants at heart. We don't maybe
Yes.
talk about it as much, but we're all here to help people.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to have been so lost in my life at that age and to really know that all I purely wanted to do was help people.
Yeah.
And, 25 years later, we've got teams all over the country. And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. We just tell people, hey, man, we're here to help you. That's it. The rest of it, the profit works. If you help people, everything else works out. But you got to put the help first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's what we do. And that's why we're here. Like, it doesn't matter really what the client needs us to do. The answer is going to be yes, but we're just going to do it with a smile.
Yeah.
And what I fell in love with is I would hear the stories, and then I'd get a hug, and then I'd get a check. And I was like, man, if I can get a hug and a check, that's the best combination.
Yeah, that's a nice
trifecta
there.
Yeah,
right there.
it's incredible. And so I was like, I'm going to do that for the rest of my life.
Man,
And
that's
I'm on
incredible.
my way. Yeah.
And you never know where life's going to take you.
No.
In the darkest moments, sometimes that opens a door where you will help others.
I think all the time that my dad passing away ended up giving me a career.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy when you really think about it.
I'm sure,
He would love it. He would
I was
love
going
every second
to
of
say,
it,
like,
man.
I'm
He
sure,
would
like, be
love
so
it.
proud
Oh,
of what you're doing
he
now
would
and the
absolutely.
impact you're making
Yeah.
on others.
Oh, yeah, he would love it.
So how did
Yeah.
this group come together? I'm curious about this.
So great question. We've been in business, it'll be 3 years in January, and we were at the Smash conference last year.
Yes.
And Matt was the keynote speaker.
Right.
I had met Matt a couple of years before that when he was working for a different company, just real quickly. And so I said to Lisa afterwards, I said, let's just go up and reintroduce myself to Matt and say hi to him. And the first thing Matt says, I wanted to find you girls.
I literally came to Smash last year to meet them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had heard a podcast we did.
Yep.
Okay.
Isn't that ironic? He heard a podcast we
Yeah.
did.
That had to make you feel like so important, like great about yourself. Yeah.
no, it's
Well,
true.
That's awesome.
our industry, the move management industry, was not sure about Live Now when we heard about them. And we're all skeptical people. It's a very small industry. We've been doing it for 20 plus years, everybody. And so anyone that enters new, you get nervous, right? And so I heard them on that podcast, and I was like, oh, these are good people. Like, I was like, not only are they're not ruining the industry, they're disrupting it, and they're changing it in the right direction. And so I said, I got to get to them first before anybody else figures out how good it's going to be. Because
That's great.
this is where the industry is going. It's got to be a one touch. There's a lot of providers out there, but it needs to be one phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I realized they were doing so much more than just the move management, I was like, man, they are our partners. And then I met them and I was like, this is a no brainer. Like,
That's
we're all in.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's great. So how have you helped one another through this? I'm sure like you're like pulling together the strengths of each other's businesses. I'd like to hear more about that because going back to the emotional side, I'm sure like you've learned a lot from each other and how you can really, like improve those services.
So at Live Now Relocation, what we provide the family is one point of contact that's accountable for managing the transition from point A to point B, right? Their job is to make it go as smooth as possible. And the additional aspect of that is that we introduce the right providers at the right time that have been thoroughly vetted. So a big part of that move, aside from selling a home and some other aspects of it, is the organizing, downsizing. That is always a big aspect of it. So when Matt launched his clutter cleaners, we're always looking for great strategic partners, and he was a natural strategic partner for us because in almost every move situation, we need a clutter cleaner, someone that can come in as that senior move manager to organize and help them downsize, keep the memories, that sort of thing. So while we were providing that one point of contact, Matt became one of our most significant strategic partners to lean into for that aspect of the business.
We like to say we're the compassionate boots on the ground.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Yeah.
But
And
for
I'm
us,
sure
it
it's
was-
a whole different ball game that like you're mentioning the compassionate side. If someone gets just a regular moving company and like, I'm sure like that compassion is lost and so much of that
It
is,
may not be top of mind, right?
Yeah.
Any mover's going to be a nice person, but at the end of the day, hopefully they are. But for us, I mean, we like I said, we're here to serve, man. We are here
Yeah.
to serve. We are here to help. It's always compassion first. And then we also just have 25 years of experience
Mhm.
doing it. And so we've done a lot of things wrong early on. And we feel like every time we think we've seen it all, we get proven that we haven't. But I mean, like, I always joke, like, anybody can move grandpa's suits. But what about when grandpa changed the oil for 50 years and there's a now an oil can in that property?
Yeah,
Not everybody can move that,
sure.
right? Not everybody. I mean, we were in a garage the other day. It was oil, recycled oil, a bunch of cans, red Folgers cans filled with nails, and then a bunch of old fertilizer. And I'm like, guys, that's a bomb. That's a straight up bomb. That's like, you do not want to throw all that in a trash can.
Yeah, proceed with caution,
Yeah,
right?
and I'm being over the top, but not really. That's everything we found in there.
Yeah.
And we just, not that that's in every house, but like, and also, so add to that story, grandpa just passed away. Grandma's inside. She's devastated.
Yeah.
Right.
How are you going to handle this?
Yeah.
You're going to handle it with grace. You're going to handle it with compassion. You're going to handle it with safety. and you're going to make grandma feel loved. You're going to do it with a smile the entire time.
Yeah.
And so this is what we train down to literally, we don't even let our guys have pockets in their pants just because we don't want grandma to think that we might
We're
take
stealing,
something. We're thinking of every single thing
Sure.
possible to make grandma or grandpa feel relaxed as we go through that process.
This is why they're our strategic partner.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good move. It's,
Yeah.
So, like, when you think about that, like, just curious, like, do you have someone there with the loved ones and just kind of assuring them through the process so they're not just sitting there watching all this? I'm sure there's that emotional interaction that's taking place. I didn't know how that works.
Yeah. I can talk about it. We are really big on the stories. It's why I got hooked on this industry. We use different products like artifacts, and we do all types of products to actually get people to tell us the stories.
Sure.
And it's really the art of communication. And so we don't want grandma sitting there crying. We want grandma to say, hey, what was your first job?
Yeah.
How much did you get paid? Oh my God, like what was your first car? So we have these things called story starters where even if they're not ready to talk, we know the questions to ask to get grandma started and to get the family engaged. Because it is positivity is a choice, right? And even in the artist's most emotional moves, we can make it a positive situation. And we're very intentional about that by the questions we ask, by the positive engagement, and even by having certain family members participate or not participate.
Sure.
I can say to grandma, hey, who do you not want in this move?
I think those are good questions.
And then I'll
ask.
isolate that cousin that's still finding himself.
Yeah.
I can get him that moved in from LA that he's trying to steal the silver. We can isolate him. Hey, Johnny, why don't you come help my guys here in the garage? Yeah. We really need your expertise. We heard you knew a lot of things about your grandpa's car. We're literally down to how do we remove a family mover?
And so you're really not making them a part of it, make sure they feel included.
But appropriately located in the house.
Yeah, because I can only imagine they feel like their life's being pushed away and nobody seems to care. You want them to feel
our
like
job as a collective is to get someone into the community as easy and as seamless as possible.
Yeah.
And so we're going to do whatever we have to from there. Live Now is going to do it from the management standpoint. We're going to do it again, the boots on the ground. So all of us are built to make this as seamless as possible for the family.
Our
so
Live
that's what
Now
we'll do.
relocation specialists have been trained on empathy and action.
Yeah.
Because while they have expertise in relocation and they have a heart for working with this population, we still have trained them. Because the senior living communities, as you know, has spent a tremendous amount of money training their sales personnel to work through it. And so we've trained ours as well to help. And we always start with, what's keeping you awake at night, right? What's got you most concerned about this move? And that's where we always start as well. Just trying, and our relocation specialists spend a ton of time on the phone listening to the stories because that's what they just want to share the stories. They want to talk about it. And they're just looking for somebody to be able to lean into as they let these things go. They know they want to let them go and move on, but it's really important that they can share the stories.
Yeah.
Like Matt said.
And I was going to ask you on the community side, I'd love to get your input, Lisa.
Absolutely.
So how do you interact with a community leading up? Because I know it's probably a partnership. And how do you communicate with them to really get some of these, I don't say strategies, but how do you make sure that everyone feels comfortable through that transition?
Yeah, the communities are obviously the main part, right?
Yeah.
They actually bring us on board to provide this level of care to their future residents coming in. And I think as we kind of talk through this, one of the nice things that they appreciate is that the relocation specialist, as Maureen said, is really there to educate and advocate for the family.
Okay.
And that education part is about how much this piece of that puzzle supports them through that move, right? Because they don't even know that these professionals exist half the time. And so they're thinking, I need to do all this on my own, or adult children that don't live anywhere near there are having to manage this. And so from a community standpoint, they're thinking, okay, I'll just share some information or resources. That doesn't help the senior when they don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So the relocation specialist provides that information, knowledge, empathy, and then helps them move forward in the process. Now, this benefits the community, right? Because the team is like, thank you, because I don't have that time either to manage all that. Our relocation specialist will spend 45 minutes an hour on the phone with them, right? Helping them through that. And this really takes the lift off the team and allows them to focus on sales and the things they're doing, knowing they've got this incredible person supporting those future residents coming in.
And I know that makes a big difference. And it's where everyone feels like they're a part, and it's almost like a concierge,
Yes.
where you're going through that. And kind of like for Lisa, Matt, this question for you, both of you, like, what role does decluttering play in helping seniors feel more comfortable at home once they've moved into a senior living community?
Well, it's just the impending worry. They've been worrying for 10. I mean, the question I always hear is like, oh my gosh, I never want to put this on my kid. I'm so really, they've been worrying about it and worrying about it and
Yeah,
worrying about it. So even
sure.
pre-move, I mean, so many of my families have avoided moving. I mean, I've heard today from a lot of different communities. They're like, we had a lady that's been on the wait list for 8 years or 5
Wow.
years, and her room came up and then she passed. She said, oh, I'm not ready yet. Right.
Wow.
And they're literally missing that next phase of life because they're holding on to their stuff and they're
Yeah.
letting this stuff hold them back. And for us, I mean, it's everything that matters. It's really a shame that they don't have the life that they want and should have at this point in their life because their clutter is holding them back.
Yeah.
And
You know,
so for
Larry,
us, go
yeah,
ahead.
I can share a quick
Yeah.
story too. We do presentations at the communities. So we present to their future residents,
Mhm.
sharing, just anything, downsizing, real estate. And then we get to sit many times with them and have lunch. And I was sitting with a woman and she was 94 years old and she wasn't ready yet, but she was great. She was in great physical shape. She swam every day. And I said,
Nice.
why are you not ready? And she said, because I'm like, the pool is here for you. You have everything you need. And she said, well, because my pictures. I'm like, well, tell me more about your pictures. Well, I have all these bins of pictures. I can't leave them.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you enjoy those pictures today? She's like, no, I can't see them. They're in bins. And I said, what if we helped you digitize those pictures? And what that means is we'll take out the ones that mean the most. And guess what? You can put them in a picture frame and now you can see them. They're going to actually scroll. Well, her eyes lit up and said, I can actually see them.
Oh, wow.
And I said, by the way, your grandchildren, they can send you pictures to
Yeah.
this device.
I bet that blew her mind.
She was blown away. And she's been on the wait list 5 years. She's been coming to the community. And her friend was there and said, now what's stopping you?
Yeah. Did she really? That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Now what's stopping? She goes, I guess I don't know.
What a great story.
Right?
That's her. And just think about the quality of life and the happiness that
Yes.
she has now, that she's now
Yes.
has those memories and living with those memories
And
instead of,
enjoying.
yes, yeah. Another question I have for y'all, anybody who wants to answer, how can senior living communities better support potential residents who are hesitant about downsizing?
Oh, so, there's a lot of new products out there that can kind of ease them into that idea of downsizing. Because when they think of downsizing, a lot of times, and Matt can really answer that too, they're thinking they have to get rid of most of their stuff
Yeah.
and the memories go. So there's new products, new digital products. There's one that's an iCloud vault that they can store their important documents. So that's important. But the one that really is awesome is the artifacts, where they can take a picture or a video of whatever the thing is, and then they can tell a story through the written word or a video and talk about that and start to leave their legacy behind. That's a really awesome solution to help them with the downsizing.
Yeah.
But I think, a lot of times our presentation really talks to, why are those things important? So what can you do to preserve that memory and then still let it go, and
Yeah.
talk about repurposing? So a lot of our presentations focus on that, and it really helps people move forward because they realize, okay, I can do this. I know that my better life will be lived in this community. I'm not going to let this stuff stop me anymore. Here's some,
Yeah.
like Lisa told about the photos, like, these are great solutions. I can do this now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I take it even to a more simpler. I mean, for me, if you are doing a resident walkthrough, if you are actually going to do a house visit, just don't get to business so quickly. The first 10 minutes, just visit. I know that sounds silly, but this is, for some of these clients, they might not be in their house in 10 years. Might not, someone other than family might be 5 years, but just when you walk in that house, just say, wow, that's beautiful. Tell me about that. Wow, that's gorgeous. Tell me about that. And just visit and hear some stories for a few minutes. I know that sounds crazy, but it'll set the palette and it'll set really the foundation of a much gentler and more positive and more memory focused transition. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the world. Just
Yeah.
that first 10 minutes. If you're going in talking about occupancy and what fees are needed, they're not even sure they're ready yet.
Sure.
So just go in and visit. I know it's just a mindset I want people to think about.
Yeah. And also you're building so much trust through
So
that.
much. It's
the
And,
business of
you're
trust,
learning so
man.
much.
Yeah.
There's that business side of it, but you're just building trust
It's
and making the process.
100% is a business of trust.
Yeah.
Our currency is trust.
Currency. I love
Without
that.
trust, There's nothing else that matters.
Yeah.
It flat out doesn't matter.
Question for you, Matt. There's always storage units available. You like recommend groups really like trying to purge stuff, or do you recommend storage units? I'd like to get your feedback on that.
Ideally, I believe if I could write the script every time,
Sure.
you move into the community first, you take the absolute bare necessities, what you need, you move that into the community, and then live there for 2 weeks. Figure out what you need, and then we go and transition anything else that was forgotten, bring a lot of the stuff back that you find out you didn't need, and then we can clean that house out very quickly because you're already living in the house that you need. You're living in your new home, and you're getting the benefits of better food, community, fellowship, and for some people, regular medication. So we found that like the stuff just isn't as important 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So if you can afford to do that, and if it works for your community, move first, move it. I tell the story all the time. No one has ever said, move me back. In 25 years, and I've never had someone ask me to move them back. But weekly, people call me, hey, I brought too much.
It's interesting.
Can you come get it?
And I was going to ask, like, on that note, like, I'm guessing that if you're able to kind of, I'd say, handle some of these big emotional, feelings as you go through this process, I'm guessing that the move into a new community has to be a lot easier, and the happiness factor has to rise when, like, they go about this the right way. And I'm sure you have
I'm
great stories
I'm
about
not
that.
to upsell them, but that's why we work with Live Now, because they do such a good job preparing for 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
When we didn't work with them, it was all on us as movers. Dude, we're not social workers. We don't have all the answers. And because of the background that Live Now folks came from on the relocation side, they're so much more thorough. They're so much more prepared. So we found the anxiety level was much lower for our clients that come from Live Now.
Yeah.
Because they prepared them well. They've worked with everybody in the community. They've worked with the resident much better. So our job is actually significantly easier, and the client's a lot happier.
Yeah.
Because there's just less unknowns. And so it's just a lot easier, and we can make it a really positive situation. We are able to sit around and visit and tell incredible stories.
Sure.
And not have to worry about, okay, where's this? Where is that? Are they, because they've done so much of the details already.
Yeah.
Our goal is to deliver a happy resident. That's the number one goal. Deliver a happy resident, take as much stress off as possible, and we'll convert leads for the communities. We'll convert leads, and we'll speed up the move-in process.
Yeah, it's wins all the way around. And
Totally.
we've discussed the moving out process. And so I kind of want to shift gears real quick, really, to Maureen and Lisa, about what steps do you take to make sure new residents feel welcome and at the home as soon as they arrive to their new community?
I'll let Lisa take that one.
Yeah, it's a great one. And it's interesting because when I work with all the different communities, many of them have amazing move-in programs, right? So when they get there, they've kind of already assigned them to this mentor or resident ambassador, and they've got all these different things in place to make them feel welcome. But to Maureen's point, our goal is to make sure when they arrive, they're happy, they're rested. Think about if you don't have the services of a clutter cleaners or someone supporting them, and they're trying to do this all on their own. Now they arrive exhausted, tired. We've had EDs say, gosh, they show up and they look like they just aged 10 years. It's a lot. So if they've got the right resources and the right access, and they can actually make that move, that day of move should be one that they're enjoying on their own while someone's setting up their new home. So they can get into the place at 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Yeah. The wine or champagne is sitting there, and their house looks like it's just ready to go. They can walk in and enjoy their evening. That's the goal, right? Yeah. For every community, that should be the goal, because it makes a world difference from that day forward, how that stay goes, truly.
We were always told the goal is to be done by 3. 4. We should be done by 3, because that way the resident can go to dinner on the first night.
Nice.
And it was an old executive director that told me that.
Yes.
And they just said, if you can truly be done by 3, add another person if you have to, because then they're not stressing it till 4:30. And if you push them to 4:30, they're late for dinner. And you've literally, just by us being an hour late, that could change the potential success of that resident's life in that community for the next 5 years. And if you really think of it that grandiose. So our job, okay, we want her relaxed and ready to go to dinner by 4, right? I know that sounds silly.
No, it's
but
the
that's our
small
goal
things make a
every
big
single
impact.
time.
Mhm.
Because then they can go in with an empty mind. They're relaxed.
Yeah.
They're ready to receive the new friends. And it's, it's the first, I tell you, it's like the first day of college. It's
Sure.
the first day of, if you got a young kid, it's the first day of elementary school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a colossally important time. And so if we can absolutely make that person relaxed,
Yeah.
we're going to do that.
My wife has helped with some design services for some cabins, and she talks about on the rental side, like you need to make that first impression, and right when you walk in, and it's
Mhm.
the small things that if you notice, like it's not swept in the corner, then you're looking for everything. It's the small things that if you notice right when you walk in that door, you're either going to have a good experience or bad experience, because if you walk in, you see things, you start looking for other issues. And so it's that mindset compared to mentally having that
So
grace to go in, have that comfort and feel like it's more of a welcoming approach. And I know that makes a huge difference.
No,
for sure.
99 is an F is what we always say. 99 is an F. Right? If you remember going to grade school and a 90 might be an A or an 88 might be a B. In our industry, 99 is an F.
Yes.
Now, are we perfect? No. But do you communicate perfectly? Yes. And we just want to make sure everything is just done well as possible, because it is the rest of their life. It's
Absolutely.
the first day of the rest of their life.
And one thing I feel like you all say is like, don't try to rush the process.
Right.
Make people feel comfortable through
Yes.
it all. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're at a sales and marketing conference. And so it's kind of leads me to my next question, which is, what advice would you give senior living marketers and community managers on how to highlight the benefits of a smooth transition process in their marketing efforts? Because I feel like we address so many other features and benefits. I'd love to get your feedback on that front, because this has to be a big part of it that might be overlooked until it gets to that time.
Yeah, in my opinion, one of the smartest things they can do is put our services on their website, because, while the senior is coming into their community, a lot of times that adult child is really actively involved behind the scenes, but they might not have been in that community. But trust me, they have scoured that website and they want to know. And that speaks volumes to how the community is going to care for their parent when they know they care enough about the transition into the community and are going to provide them with support. So, we always say, if you're going to market it, put it on your website,
Yeah.
include it in your marketing materials. But when we do presentations, we always say, this community cares so much about their residents. They want to make sure your transition into the community is as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought Live Now to you.
That's
It's
great.
at no cost to you our services are no cost to you. And that's why, so marketing our services is just really smart for them.
Yeah.
It's a differentiator in the market.
I'm sure just that peace of mind, it's especially for the adult child decision maker, just having that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when we talk to them too, they don't know what a senior move manager is, that adult child. So we're educating them. And when's the community going to be able to do that? They don't have those conversations with adult child, but we do. We get involved with it. We'll explain, here's how a senior move manager can help. Your mom said she wasn't really interested. And then the adult child's like, oh, yeah, no, never mind about that. I will be paying for that, and we will be hiring a senior move manager, because, a lot of times the parents don't want to spend the money, but
Sure.
the adult child is the one that's doing the work.
Yeah.
So that's where we come in. It's a collaboration, right? Collaborating between the adult child, the senior, and the community.
Yeah. It's the adult child who's dealing with the emotional, the
Yes.
physical side of it
Yes.
and all of the pieces. And it's about, like Matt, what you said, you're trying to maybe block out that cousin who's trying to, disrupt the process. You never know. So I think that's
Or
really
when the adult
great.
child and the parent, bump
Yeah.
heads because of stuff. Like the mom wants the adult child to take things, and they're like, Mom, I don't want that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that is the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
I always
get-
say my
it-
best advice to anybody is take the stuff.
Yeah. Take the stuff. Yeah. No
Get rid
hurt
of it
feelings.
later. Take the stuff.
Absolutely. So as we wrap this up, what question did I not ask that you'd like to mention as we, wrap up this conversation?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it very well.
Oh,
I
Good
said, what
question.
question did I not ask? As to wrap this up, what did we not cover that you think it's important to highlight? Or did we get it all?
It's a good question. Let me
Well,
think.
I think
Yeah.
there's, and from a Live Now side, the
Yeah.
other thing too, Larry, that we're bringing to this is technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably not a sexy thing in a sense of like, we're very compassionate about making sure this is an easy move. But when you really think about technology and be able to house all that information in one place, so they have easy visibility, access to the information, that's a real differentiator too in the
Sure.
marketplace and for the communities. So the communities have a dashboard and see everything going on with their future residents, who they're working with, what's it. I mean, think about that from a standpoint of now I know 24/7 and I don't have to worry about it. Live Now's got it covered. They're moving along beautifully. And we work with wait lists. We work with so many different people so they know what's happening with everybody coming into their community. And I think that's a big piece of what we bring. Go ahead. Oh,
Absolutely.
I thought Matt was saying next.
I did too.
Wait for somebody. So I gotta-
He's jumping in.
No, you were killing it.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't have. I think technology's allowed us to communicate with the family how and when they want to be communicated with. That's become a big issue for us because every adult child has a different way of communication. One wants text at 8 p.m. One wants phone call. But we use technology to allow us to communicate properly with the families. I'm trying to think of what question we didn't ask. I mean, I guess it's just more advice that
Sure.
we give anyone any person that works in a community. I mean, just remember the why you're here. You're there. You asked us why we did this. We all had an origin story, and it was to serve. And everyone in this room and everyone at this community, everyone listening today, you didn't do it for the money. We know that, right? We did it because we cared about someone. We were here to serve, and then we just got to remember that. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
If we truly enter every interaction with clients, prospects, whoever, if we truly enter with an open heart and a vision on serving, it will work out, and the profit will come.
Yeah.
But I got decades of experience of when you focus on profit,
Focus on people first.
Yes.
people first.
Your customer first.
Yeah. What would you say? Customer or people first?
Customer. Just focus on your customer first. And that's what we've said from the very beginning. We were like, just all eyes on our customer and making this transition as smooth as possible. Everything else will fall into place. If we can create an amazing move experience for those older adults and their families, the communities benefit so significantly. We don't have
Absolutely.
to worry about that.
Yeah.
So if we just keep all eyes on managing that transition to make it as smooth as possible, everybody wins.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate that. Where can everyone find you? Like if they're looking to do some research into Live Now and Clutter Cleaner?
Clutter Cleaner.
Okay, yeah.
So it's
Clutter Cleaner. I messed
Clutter
that
Cleaner,
up.
that's
So,
right.
Live Now Relocation is LIVNOW.
okay.
There's no E, LIVNOW relocation.com. You can find us on our website. You can find us on LinkedIn. I think we're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Great. Yeah. And you're active on LinkedIn as
Active.
well. Yeah, that's great. And Matt, what about Clutter Cleaner?
Man, I hate to do this, but to prove my point, you can just go to livenowrelocation.com.
There we
and
go.
reach
That's
us.
easy. I like it.
It's one point of contact. That's the whole point.
Keep it all together,
Yeah.
right?
And
Awesome.
you don't know how hard it was for me to say that. I love to pass out my stuff. But honestly, that's the point. You don't
Yeah,
have
sure.
you don't have to find me.
It
Yeah.
is.
Go to Live Now Relocation.
That's great. Thank you all for what all you do. And I thank you again for just sharing your insights today.
Thank
Oh,
you,
thank
Larry. We
you.
really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
All right,
You're
great.
welcome.
Thank you. All
That's
right.
great.
This ended up being the last interview I held while at Smash, and it was a fun and eye-opening way to wrap up the conference. Here are a few notes that I took during this conversation. First, leverage digital solutions to help seniors preserve memories while downsizing. This might include tools that allow seniors to digitize and document the stories behind their possessions. Encourage senior living communities to educate residents and their families about these types of solutions to ease the emotional burden of letting go of cherished items. Second, focus on building rapport during the initial walkthroughs with potential residents and the importance of spending the first 10 minutes of a walkthrough simply visiting and engaging with the senior rather than immediately jumping into the business discussions. This helps build trust and makes the senior feel more comfortable. Finally, the marketing materials should highlight the relocation management services. Senior living communities should prominently feature the services of companies like Live Now Relocation on their websites and other marketing collateral. This demonstrates the community's commitment to supporting a smooth transition and can be a key differentiator for prospective residents and their families. Such great information, and I appreciate Maureen, Lisa, and Matt for joining us and adding their perspectives on this really important topic. And until next time, let's go make some meaningful connections.
Thank you for listening to The Move in Healthcare Growth. Add your voice to the conversation. Email the show at themove@unlockhealthnow.com. Follow us on social media and stay up to date at unlockhealthnow.com. Also, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode.